look at saving money. And next slide again. How many of you remember the story of Mary's alabaster oil, the perfume in the Bible? Remember that story? So the setting is Jesus is at Bethany, which is a little bit away from Jerusalem. And he was about to be crucified in 2 days. And he was having supper, chilling with the fellas at Simon the leper's house, who he had healed earlier. So while he was there just chilling out and eating with the guys, someone comes in, and that's Mary. Now this is the same Mary that was Mary and Lazarus. Remember that story of Lazarus being raised from the dead? Jesus came too late and he died. This is the same Mary that was Mary and Martha, where they were fussing in the kitchen about which was better, to go serve Jesus by being in the kitchen or serve him at his feet and learning from what he said. So this Mary came and showed up. And what she had in her hand was a jar, an alabaster jar full of very expensive perfume. The book of Mark tells us that this was worth a year's worth of salary. Can you imagine that? Keep it and holding a year's worth of salary hidden somewhere in your house. Wouldn't you be kind of scared, right? And so here she kept it. Now scholars kind of debate on, like, where did she get that? Well, some say that, well, maybe her parents gave it to her and she was using it for her dowry, because part of the Jewish culture was that once you got married, then you would take on your wedding night, the bridegroom, bride, would take it and pour it on the bridegroom's feet for that evening. And they thought, well, maybe that's where she got it. And others said, no. It happened when Lazarus died, and she got it for his death and burial. But in any event, she had something that was worth a year's worth of salary. Now, how long would it take you to save a year's worth of salary? A long time, right? I mean, if you save 20% a year, 20% a month, for 5 years, you'd have, but doesn't that take a lot of discipline?
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that comes up, you go like, I want to do this, but she didn't touch it. She did not touch it. So she saved it. So that's our foundation for talking about savings. So next slide. So then as we look at this, there are some things that women battle that men don't have to face. First of all, women live longer than men. And so they have to think about that nest egg a little bit more seriously than a man. So as a man, they fuss and fight about how to spend the money. They get outlived, and then the wife gets to spend it as she wants to anyhow. So it doesn't behoove us to do that. I don't know if all the brothers, there'll be some brothers here. Then also, women tend to move in and out of jobs more often. And that kind of makes sense, because sometimes women become moms, and they need to move to a different job or take a different role because they're trying to help their family move along, right? And so every time you move a job, then you start your vacation, your pay, and all that stuff starts all over again. And so that gets your pay back down to a lower level. And finally here, women don't earn as much, which we've already talked about. So if a woman is saving 20% of her money and a man is saving 20% of his money, that's a big difference, right? Because 20% of a dollar is 20%. But 20% of 77 cents or 69 cents, that's like 40% of her money. So that's a significant difference. And so what can we do to kind of close this gap? Next slide. Well, one thing we can do was a pastor brought in, can't remember the name of the nonprofit that came in this past week, but they had a great plan. If you qualify through this agency, what's the name of it?
Consumer Credit Counseling.
Thank you, Consumer Credit Council. So if you qualify for this program, you would save $25 a month for a year, which is $300. And then they would also put that same amount in your account if you attended all the classes, one class a month, I believe. And then Brother Kip would put another 25, so you'd come out, starting with you just putting in 300. They put in 300 and another 25, so you'd come out really good. So that's a great program. But aside from that, we can do a few things. We can, number one, save for provision. Proverbs 6:6 talks about the ant and how industrious the ant is. You've all seen ants, right? They're just busy, busy, busy. So they're always putting things aside for later on. So they live on enough, right? They never starve because they're always giving something, but they live on enough. And that's what we have to learn how to do, is to live on enough. We don't have to take everything we get and go run and spend it. We need to define our wants, and we just need to define our needs and make sure they're met. And every once in a while, get something that you want. But make sure you cover your needs and don't overextend yourself, because that's how you get in trouble. If we follow the model of the ant, we'll work and save, and work and save, and work and save. The second thing we can do is to save for protection. Things happen, right? Cars break down, kids get sick, whatever. You can lose a job because the company's going through troubles. You got to put something aside. And if you don't put something aside, then you're really losing out, because what's going to happen? Your light bill, the car bill, what kind of Christian witness does that make you if you can't handle your money and be a better steward of what God has already given you? So it's important that we save for protection. And finally, we need to save for posterity. We don't know what our future is like, and we don't know how things keep going in the future. If you think of the story of Joseph in the Bible, remember that one? He's a guy with a coat of many colors. His brothers were jealous of him, got sold into slavery. The king had a dream. He interpreted the dream, and he helped him out with that 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. Well, too often in our lives, we go through periods where we have a little plenty. We have stuff, and we're able to spend, and we're going back and forth and buying and doing this, that, and the other. But we don't really do a good job of going ahead and setting it aside. One example might be tax season. How many of you guys love to get your income tax returns, right? Okay. And I'm going to ask you to raise your hand on this. What do you do with that money? Do you put it for provision? Do you put it for protection? Do you put it for posterity? Odds are you might spend it for some of the needs you want, or some of the wants. Who knows? I'm not going to ask it's an embarrassing question, but the point is taken, right? If you are saving for your future, you'll put some of that aside because it's for something in the future. It's something we need to look out for. And another important point here is to train our kids. If our kids see us, they get a model of how maybe they should do. Okay, and so that's a point that we need to follow.